This is a TAB Media special report on the intentional use of artificial intelligence in a Christian context. I'm Jennifer Rash, and joining me is Chase Cappo, who is a founder of several faith-based technology resources now. Chase, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jennifer. Really excited and grateful to you and the Southern Baptist for also leaning forward in artificial intelligence.
Well, I don't know what I'm talking about, so I'm going to need you to help me out
Sure.
with all of the AI kind of things. I know that it's growing, and I know that it has been the topic of conversation for months, even years now. And we're all trying to figure out in the Christian world, in a faith based context, why should we care? Should we think about this? How should we think about it? Why should we think about it? All of those kinds of things. And I know that you are in this world and you have all the answers. So we're going to have all that worked
To
out before we finish. But before we get into all that, let's find out a little bit about you and tell us about the resources you have, and then let's back into how to deal with artificial intelligence in this context.
Yeah, a lot of questions there. Hopefully, I don't even think I've got every answer, but we'll share some of the things that we've learned through practice. God's really blessed us with learning a lot of lessons through some trial and error and a little bit of knowledge given by others and some wisdom through experience. And so, first, maybe my quick personal intro. First believer in my family.
Oh, okay.
Grew up outside in on the church a little bit. But thankfully both my folks are believers now. Great stories. Miracle story, I was not an abortion. So very grateful for
Okay.
my parents, sticking it out. And was a West Point grad, did the Airborne Ranger training and was an Army officer in the South Pacific for a while.
Oh, thank you for your
Um,
service.
Thank you. I got finished service there and then spent some time at Goldman Sachs in sales and trading division. And then I've done a little bit of consulting largely while I was working on this. And so we've been co-founded this with one of my high school best friends and neighbors, family friend, 2 years ago, he's been in AI for over a decade. And he called me up and said, there's a lot happening in AI very quickly. We need to figure out what it means for the church. And
Okay.
so we've been at it for about 2 years now.
Okay. All right. And your resources, the two that you have are Bible Chat and
Yeah,
um, Faith Assistant, right?
yeah, BibleChat.AI
Mhm.
and faithassistant.com. BibleChat.AI is a free mobile app. You can access it on the computer as well, but it was actually the first app in the App Store that was generative AI talk
Okay.
to a Bible bot in natural language, as far as we know. And then faithassistant.com is like a digital door greeter or super admin for Bible-based ministries. Only just we're choosing to work with Bible-based ones, and so that's anything from a Bible college or a church, parachurch, homeschool, educator association,
Mhm.
that type of thing. And then I'd say the third freebie in there
Mhm.
is southernbaptist.faithassistant.com. Um, they it is a free resource. If anybody wanted to ask a Southern Baptist AI any question and get their perspective on the world, they certainly can.
Okay. Okay. So I have so many questions, but did I hear you say Bible bot? Is that what you
Oh
said?
yeah, so
Tell me what that is.
yeah, a little bit of slang for think about I think about a robot, right? Maybe like a robot librarian, where this is a little bit of a description on what AI is when it comes
Okay.
to generative text-based AI. Think of um, a robot in a library that has every book that's ever been published on its shelves
Mhm.
and everything that's on the internet on its shelves. And this robot librarian has perfectly memorized everything on the shelves.
Okay.
And you go and ask this bot or this robot a question, and it doesn't give you one answer from one resource. It gives you an answer, a probability-based answer based on everything it's memorized. And by putting together different pieces of different books and articles, it gives you a unique answer. Now, it's not sentient; it doesn't have a conscience, certainly not a soul.
Right.
But that's really
Okay.
where the hallucinations come from,
Hmm.
and that's largely how we experience AI, at least right now, is this seemingly all-knowing robot that gives answers to what we're asking. That's not necessarily the case, but that's call that what AI is right now.
So everything it's had exposure to and it's absorbed, it can spout it back out in some kind of summary form or
Yeah, that's absolutely
is
right.
that
So
fair?
yeah, no, if you ask it, what does X say about Y, it'll tell you, really easy. But if you ask it, why is the sky blue? It'll build a probability-based answer. The sky is blue because water in the atmosphere reflecting off the sunlight. Our bot's different though. We created a different robot, or a separate large language model for the
Mhm,
technicals in the audience, that governs itself. It's not reliant
mhm.
on a Chat GPT, a Microsoft, or a Google to actually put forth its answer. And that's really unique because it gives us trust in what it'll spit out. Now, Jennifer, this is gonna want to
Mhm.
make sure we don't do too much and I don't ramble for too long here, but that's really important. And that actually separates what is secular AI from what we're calling Christian AI,
Okay.
right? If there's a technology that's really just built on Chat GPT, as an example, it can walk like a duck and act like a duck. It can answer Christianese fairly well,
Right.
but stand it won't stay orthodox at scale, and I'll give you some examples.
Mhm.
Um, and it'll hallucinate in ways we don't like.
Okay.
If you have your own tech stack and you're not building on sensibly sand,
Mm.
then when you say, hey, this is right, this is wrong, these are the resources I want you to pull from, and those are the ones I don't want you to,
Mhm.
then it is more independent and will say what you want it to at scale.
Okay.
Does, does that make sense, or maybe
It
an example?
it does, but yeah, an example would be great too, though.
Yeah, so in our app, BibleChat.AI, it's completely anonymous. We only know city, state, like an IP address, right?
Mhm,
Um, and so if, sad to say, if a parent loses a baby,
mhm,
we've learned if they're really struggling with an issue, they're going to ask that the question that's plaguing them,
mhm,
the flesh or the spirits get, attack multiple times. Why is my baby gone?
mhm.
Are all babies in heaven? So how do I know my baby's in heaven? How do you know all that? And they're just going to beat up on that question for however long.
Right,
Okay,
right.
that's fine. That's a tough issue, and we see a lot of that. However, if that issue is on a conflicting worldview of a from if a Christian Orthodox, a Bible-based believer has
Mhm,
a difference of worldview of a secular humanist uh, Silicon Valley corporation,
mhm,
call it happiness, purpose, transgenderism, abortion, whatever it
mhm.
is, it's much harder to train because what you have going on over here is something called human feedback reinforcement learning.
Okay.
Humans are giving that all knowing robot feedback. Hey, actually, this is what happiness is. This is what anxiety is. This is what right and wrong is. Because there's a lot of subjective things that this thing has to learn. And so they're just groups of people training this bot.
Mhm.
Um, so if someone is struggling with transgenderism
Right.
and they're gender dysmorphia, and they're asking, how do I know I'm born in the right body? How do I know I'm born in the wrong body? Why won't you affirm me? Because people really have these conversations. This will revert to its natural training. Kind of like in stress of a soldier or anything, it's, popular army phrase, you're gonna resort back to the most basic level of training. Um,
Okay. Right, right.
if it's separate, then we have more confidence in what it's going to say because we've trained it in a different way. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
It does, it does. Now if your your bot is answering from scripture and
Yeah.
it's trained in that way, um, various faith groups have different interpretations
Yeah.
sometimes. So how do you deal with that level? Because how do I know where it's going to land?
Oh, that's a good question, and I want to answer a question you asked even just before as we were catching up.
Mhm,
Why should people care? I'll tell them now and later. We should care about this
mhm,
difference
mhm.
because we have millions of kids asking things like, "What kind of pornography is okay?" to Chat GPT.
Really?
Oh
Wow.
yeah, of course. I mean, think of like all the false premise-based assumptions,
Right.
right? Because that's what a middle schooler is asking, by the way. They're not asking like, is it right or wrong? I have the data and millions of conversations to show.
But they'll type it in and it's recorded, they will ask?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, it gets way more R-rated than that. I, and so Chat GPT will either say, "I can't help you with that." That's
Right.
occasionally one of its answers, but most commonly it'll say, "Well, so long as they're consenting adults and no one's getting hurt, follow your conscience."
Mm,
Right? It's legal. And so that's just an easy example.
that's yeah, wow.
Um, and it's increasingly as we are conditioned to be personal
Mhm.
with our thumbs in like this space,
Right,
right? And we would rather go ask the some random Christian bot that's given me really good answers before.
right,
What about this in my marriage? I'm
right.
not saying it's preferable. I'm just telling you people and particularly newer generations would rather get that question first from a non-biased source before they go to a person and expose themselves at risk of shame or judgment or those types of things.
So even counseling and that kind of stuff, they'll go here first.
No, yeah, 100%. Now that's a responsibility of a Christian AI to orient the technology to human flourishing,
Yep.
right? Facebook or something like it wants you to use it and not get off of it. It's addictive.
Right, right, right.
Christian AI will do things like, wow, hey, I can help you and answer some of these questions, but you need to be in community. Have you told someone about this yet?
Oh,
Did
okay,
you just
okay. So pushing back out. Yeah, that's interesting.
100%? We have numerous examples of people literally coming to faith, at least in the app, right? Typing out the sinner's prayer and then going, what next? And then our bot is, well, you need to go tell somebody about this. Go find who's been praying for you, right? And so it's like an entry level spiritual director. Um, so that's I think a little bit more of why people should care.
Yeah.
And what's at stake right now. That there's a lot of digital darkness, and if Christians don't have a light in that, well then like we could get all philosophical, theological, but I think we need to overcome darkness with good, and not be overcome by evil, kind of thing.
Well, on that thought, how large is this community right now from the Christian side of it? And then are y'all keeping each other accountable? Because that in itself could also um, be problematic if there's no accountability.
Yeah, thank you. It's a good question. So the our app, I mean, is fairly small by global viral app standards.
Right.
We're in just about every country in the world. I think we were just banned in China 2 months ago, so
Oh,
consider that a
interesting.
win, I guess. Um, and so we've got 40, 50,000 people using it, and it's free. It's our ministry. We have people using it who wouldn't pay for it, which is just a blessing.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I could give you many stories of which are, anyway, people writing in, that sort of thing. Um, so that's our app. There are many others out there that are doing the same thing. A lot of them charge because there is a processing cost to some of this,
Mhm.
and so we like that ours is free, and will remain free. Um, as far as the community now, it's a small but growing faith tech community
Mhm.
that are doing different things along this to serve believers as well as the church in whatever institutional form. Um, I know a couple out there, good guys that are doing social media automation. Let's take a sermon, whiz bang AI, and then all of a sudden you have a couple social media clips that are auto generated, right? That
Okay.
saves people time, gets your word out there.
Yeah.
That's an easy example. But as far as the virtual assistant goes that answers any question about the Bible, life, or the ministry,
Mhm.
and is a functional like admin.
Right.
Uh, we're the only ones out there right now doing this. I'm sure we won't be, for too much longer.
Right.
But it's yeah, it's an interesting place to be right now. So
Huh.
um,
Okay.
now is that you asked about denominations too, though?
So yeah, so in the mix of all that, how the broader Christian community coming together in one place. Um, we don't always come together within our smaller groups, so I'm trying to envision how this might work.
Yeah. So our app, first of all, is really geared. We have four primary values that I'm programming towards and trying to shape content towards. It's prioritize the gospel, safeguard scripture, connect and unite, and truth and love.
Okay.
And so all answers are shaped by those four things.
Okay.
So if somebody asks, hey, my neighbor said, I should baptize my baby, the answer should be something like, even though that's not a question, we get a lot of statements.
Right.
Um, well, hey, baptizing of infants has been going on for a long time, even maybe before scripture was formally canonized. And here's maybe a verse justifying that. Jesus is going to all nations. Um, but it's not considered orthodox right now and doesn't mention it in scripture. Have you been baptized? Right.
Okay.
And so it's more,
Okay. Okay.
or same thing with purgatory. Some think it's in the Apocrypha. It's not in the modern canon. Do you know where you're going when you die? So that's what the app is doing.
So it kind of brings it back to the more relevant
Yeah,
point.
we're trying to prioritize the gospel, right? The good news, get people closer to Jesus. And if anybody, this is an open request as much as it is a challenge, um, can stump our bot or get it to say something not orthodox, generally within the confines of Lasan,
Yeah.
let me know. My email is chase@BibleChat.AI. I will take it. I
Ooh,
really care about the
we can have
content.
a lot of challenges going on here.
I'm sure, and yeah, and it'll be a blessing. I won't be mad
That's
because we're always trying to make it better. Now, that is great for people who are seekers who want to know the Greek or Hebrew of a word because we do all that in our bot too.
okay.
However, that's like a really good 101 course.
Right.
As you know, we create denominationally aligned artificial intelligence as well.
Right.
For instance, the Southern Baptist Convention gave us a booth in Indianapolis this year to launch and try out Southern Baptist GPT. In fact, sort of just the landing page for that is southernbaptist.faithassistant.com.
Okay.
And that's a resource right now, free, that people can ask, and you should be able to get a Southern Baptist response to anything that you're going to ask it.
Who decided what the Southern Baptist response would be?
Yeah, so we just took a number of resources from the Southern Baptist Convention, which is, I know that there's some left and right limits as far as theological guidance,
Mhm.
or maybe more specifically, practical application of that.
Mhm.
And so we've taken a number of documents and sort of created a 201 class
Okay.
on what being a Southern Baptist is generally. And if there is division, we try to call that out.
Okay. Okay.
We could still certainly iron out the wrinkles in this tool. Um, so that's 201.
Okay.
But we will go off and create other 201 classes. The largest Lutheran church in the Missouri Synod in America is called Concordia, and they're in San Antonio.
Okay.
They have our technology on their digital properties, and we've created a Lutheran GPT for them, just
Oh,
like we created Southern Baptist GPT.
I gotcha.
And so now that's great. So any other conservative Missouri Synod church that wants to plug into that, well, we'll give it away for free, and then we'll just give them that. So we understand that there are very important theological differences in denominations. And so we're trying to equip those ministers to go and disciple their people the best way they see fit within the left and right limits. And
Right.
so to continue my 101 analogy and land my plane here, we've created 101. It's our separate technology.
Mhm.
Then we'll go create a 201 Southern Baptist Convention model.
Mhm.
And then we'll go to an individual ministry Uh,
Okay.
so 121 Church here in Dallas Fort Worth is one of ours. Southern Baptist affiliated. Um, Friendship Baptist is another from the conference. They just went live.
Okay.
Um, we go and memorize everything that they've published online, YouTube channel, um, PDFs, anything not online that you want us to ingest.
Hmm.
And this thing learns ministry, not just content,
Hmm.
sentence structure, tone, word choice. And then all of a sudden you have a very well educated virtual assistant that can have a conversation in natural language about anything it's been trained 101, 201, or 301.
So that could happen with Tab Media Group and all that we do.
Yeah, this is we haven't talked about this yet, Jennifer, but this is
Yeah.
definitely an indirect sales pitch in that if, yeah,
All right, everybody be checking in to
yeah,
see.
uh, this, I mean, it's a good example, right? Because so we're working on something for the Christian Post right now, but also KCBI is the single largest, I believe, Christian radio station in the country, right?
Okay.
We're here in DFW in Waco,
Okay.
and they have this, and this is great because someone can just say, hey, like what song just played, or more commonly, what was that song at like 9 a.m. yesterday about Jesus? And
Oh,
so this automates all that. It also knows the volunteer drives going on. It knows everything, and it will give people resources that help them. Now that's really important. Why? Well, the station manager, Matt Austin, is a really innovative dude, and they've done a lot of new donor interviews. And those new donor interviews have basically one common corollary. You just said something on air that really ministered to me, and I just feel like I want to be a part of this community.
interesting.
So from my Goldman Sachs days, KCBI is just getting their branded content into someone's hands when they need it, and they're helping them, right? So if
Ooh,
Tab
such an
Media,
immediate response. Yeah.
right? So if you were, Mega Pastor X, and you wanted people to literally chat with your AI intern
Hmm.
while they're watching your sermon,
Hmm.
or if I'm reading some Tab Media and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know about this. I want to wrestle with this
Hmm.
or give feedback. I can scan a QR code and either talk with the publication, the media writ large, or with that author and all their works if they
Okay.
wanted to do that. Yeah.
Okay. 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 Very interesting. And is that the same when you mentioned the digital door greeter? Was that the same or is that different?
Yeah, we're still, it is. That's faithassistant.com right
Okay.
now. A couple ministries that have signed up with us.
Yeah.
So Luis Palau, Hope with God,
Mhm.
um, Answers in Genesis. This
Okay.
is exciting. So consider this a pre-release announcement, I guess.
Okay.
We're going to create like an Answers in Genesis GPT. So
Oh, okay.
if
Okay.
you wanted to ask a creation scientist anything, like, is there real evidence for Israel leaving Egypt or dinosaurs or whatever?
Right. Right. Right.
This will have a natural conversation with you about that.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. And you mentioned Bible Chat was free, a free app,
Yep.
and some of the other things have been free. How are you paying for these if they're free to the public?
Great question. First answer is I'll tell you how we're not paying for them, and that's through advertisements, right? We've been tempted, but
Yeah.
use that baby example that I had said before in
Right.
our app. If I just used Google AdWords,
Right.
that parent or mom, whatever, is going to receive a Pampers advertisement. And I would make a referral if she what ended up buying or just for her seeing that.
Right.
And then I'd be profiting off her prayer requests,
Right. Right.
which is another distinction between Christian AI and secular AI.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So that's how we're not making money, even though I think we could. Um, how we're making money though is faithassistant.com. That is not free. We go and create a unique
Okay.
employee for a ministry,
Right.
and then we charge monthly for that.
Okay. Okay. And then that helps support the other,
It
which is
does.
where you're hoping the seekers are coming in, that we can be,
Yeah.
that it then points people to Jesus and helps them move to that next step. Um, and,
Yes.
yeah.
And that faith assistant
Hmm.
is a mini Bible chat for that ministry. I'll give you one example.
Okay. Okay.
Um, let's say a church that has this.
Hmm.
Maybe their men's ministry is doing a real focus in purity over the summer,
Okay.
and they want to run a social media advertisement. Now, there are limited capabilities if they don't want to answer text message or chat at midnight.
Right. Right.
But now they could run social media ads just like they maybe would, but they could mark those social media ads to hit between 8 p.m. and 2 a.m.
Okay.
and then have a bit, the tagline be something like struggling in your fight for purity. You want help? Chat with our anonymous AI right now. And it is like chatting with a human, but faster.
Okay. Okay.
And all of a sudden, they're engaging all those online strangers, men if that's who they're targeting, um, with their content in scripture. And so it creates a 24/7 employee for you.
And I really am intrigued by the concept of the light and the darkness and the battle of so many negative and dark things are asking those questions and drawing people in and taking them on a path that is unfortunate. So to have the light coming in and asking a question that draws them in, but then helps point them toward the gospel and toward Jesus and toward wherever that might lead in a positive way. Um, what do you see as the uphill battle in all of that?
Yeah. Right now, there's a lot of fear out there with AI, especially in our community.
Right.
And I don't blame anybody. Um, but fear and caution
Mhm,
are two different things. And I've been maybe experiencing sometimes
mhm.
a fear much greater than sometimes it appears as a desire to share the gospel.
Okay.
Right? If I can show you hundreds of conversations of
Mhm.
people coming to faith in this app, and you go, still AI, I'm gonna get all squinty eyed at you, um, because we had this debate already, and it feels weird to be a younger guy saying we should consider history because when people were coming to faith watching Billy Graham in their living room, we were having the same conversation. Is that personal? Is that real?
Mm,
Right?
okay. Yeah.
Or over the radio. And oh, by the way, we had churches take a decade off the radio because it was the spirit of the air, right? And
Interesting.
so
Good
this
point.
is a new medium.
Mhm,
There are new risks,
mhm.
but I mean, Christians have been at the forefront of innovation for a long time. Like, think of the Magi who used tech to adore Christ, or in the Middle Ages, leading medical policy and implementation, right? And so, wouldn't it be great if, and this is, last step on the soapbox here, Jennifer, is, um, like if we're we have a credible say of in our jobs and our churches, that's not an ethical use of AI because we're doing it and we're living it out by example and we're servant leaders in that way rather than no, the internet's evil because it's somehow going to be a part of the
Mhm.
mark of the beast, which probably it will, but you know, I don't know.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here, but we're going to put some info in the show notes with all the links to all that you have going on. And I think I'm a little more clear on some things. So thank you for explaining and helping us just be able to see that we do need to be in this conversation and we don't want to get left behind on this. Did you see the pun there? How about that?
Very good. Yeah, you're a couple tons.
All right, all right. So thanks for chatting with me today. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You should have talked more. It's funnier.
I
So,
love it. No, no. All right, Chase. Well, thank you so much. Like I said, the show notes will have more details, and we'll see if a faith assistant shows up at Tab Media Group soon.